we need this victory to consolidate on the purpose of governance. We have had a few distractions. The good news that came to us is a refreshing strength that will ginger us to continue the work of governance. I want to commend the President for his fatherly role on not just the crisis, but also this particular litigation. It will also be unfair for me not to appreciate the Minister, my Oga. I want to say thank you for all their support.
Okay, so who were instrumental to the Abuja Accord? The President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the FCT Minister, Yesom Wike, His Excellency as well. And, he appreciated them there. So it looks like, like some of you have said, he doesn't like to fight as a man of peace. So it looks like he is not fighting. And despite the fact that the Supreme Court judgment is in his favor, he still wants, that's how it sounds. I might be wrong, I may be wrong. But what I've gleaned and what I've taken from that is that he still wants to abide with the peace accord. And so to talk about this, I've got Godspower Egbule as a lawyer, yes, based in Port Harcourt, and he's a public affairs analyst. And it's good to have you in the studio, Mr. or Barrister Egbule. Barrister, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kalada.
All right.
Pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you. Okay, so you listened to my intro. First of all, what do you make of the judgment in favor of the governor? You think it's a welcome development for Rivers State, like many people are certain?
Well, that's the final judgment of the highest court of the land. So, irrespective of the divide that you belong to, the Supreme Court has given a judgment, and it is binding on all persons and authorities.
But you see, in Plateau State, for instance, where you're a lawyer, so you know that the Court of Appeal is the highest court when it comes to elections relating to lawmakers. But the lawmakers were all over the place, some 2 days ago saying we no go agree with, what the populace say, no agree for anybody, and they were out there. So that's why I asked you. So once again, yes, the Supreme Court has given its judgment. It's the apex court of the land, I agree. However, what's your take? How does this impact or influence not just the political activities, but societal and economic activities in the River State?
Well, for now, it has brought to an end every aspect of this petition with respect to who the governor of River State is, who was elected in the last year general elections. And I think that's the most important thing. Every other thing will be secondary. Politicians will be politicians, and those who make comments will always want to make comments depending on their political affiliations and emotions. But irrespective of that, the Supreme Court has given a judgment, and that judgment is binding on all persons and authority. And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Now let's stick with impact, because I'm more of an impact person, and that's why we have conversations on radio. Do you think this will worsen, or this will bring about some kind of relief as it relates to the political situation in Rivers? So you must have been following the political. Your constituency has been very much included in the political drama because there have been court cases here, court cases there. So the question I want to ask is this: how do you see this judgment impacting? Is it going to worsen the political situation, or is it going to bring relief? Because some people are saying the governor might not recognize the peace accord anymore, but in his statement there, he recognized his Oga and the president. So what's your take on that?
Well, for me, I think that politicians will always pursue any interest that serves their personal purpose. And so I usually don't like talking too much about politics, because there will be avalanche of opinions. People are meant to differ and provide their different perspectives on such issues. But like I said before, the Supreme Court has given the final judgment with respect to who was elected as the governor of Rivers State in the last general election, and I think for me that's the most important thing.
You've mentioned that's the most important thing, but another important thing is that we the people are able to get the dividends of democracy, and for some people they feel the agreement that was reached in Abuja is detrimental to the people of River State, and so that's one into the mix as well, and that's why we're looking at. You've said, it's important that the Supreme Court has given its judgment, and so society can go on. But then there is also the politics about the political situation.
I'm actually at loss as to how I will connect the peace accord, quote and unquote, and the court judgment. I think they are two different things.
Yes, they are two different things. But some people say, now let me break it down.
Yes.
Some people say that with the Supreme Court now affirming him as governor, that there is nothing to fear, because some had asserted that he possibly was afraid because of the judgment. If he did not play ball, there was the likelihood it would not have been in his favor. So that was the argument at some point, and so that's why we're trying to link it. So now that I've broken it down, can you link it for me?
For instance, you will now be looking at the contents of the peace accord, and you ask yourself just one question: do we need the Supreme Court to actually look at the constitutionality or otherwise of the peace accord? Now, not just the peace accord, but the content of the peace accord. The content, number one, that of a budget; number two, that of a House of Assembly; number three, who is a speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and as to whether we even have a local government election. So, first of all, you need to look at the content of that peace accord, and you ask yourself, the content of this peace accord, where do they infringe on the provisions of the Constitution? If you permit me, I'll take them one by one.
We'll get to that. Eventually, we'll get to one by one. But do you? I know you say you don't like. I'm sorry, I'm pushing.
Yes.
I know you say you don't like to talk about politics. You like to talk about legality and Constitution and all. However, we've had the political drama for too long.
Yes.
Now we've reached this height, this crescendo, so to say. And many people are speculating, and I'm asking you, from your legal expertise, do you think now that, and you said it, that the Supreme Court is the final court, the finality,
yes,
and now that he has the final judgment, do you think he wants to, or he will abide by the Abuja Accord, like I like to call it?
In the course of my giving explanations with respect to the content of that peace accord, I would wish that there is an implementation.
Okay, interesting now. Interesting.
The content is a code. Why? It is only constitutional that we recognize that we have a Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and we don't need a peace accord to do that. It is only constitutional that we know that it is only the River State House of Assembly that can pass a budget, and we don't need a peace accord to do that. It is also important that we recognize that by Section 7 of the Constitution, there is guaranteed democratically elected government at the local government, and we don't need a peace accord to do that. That's why it said that we need to actually look at the peace accord, because there's been a lot of misinformation to say, the peace accord is like an executive fiat.
They call it the Eighth Commandment.
And Eighth Commandment, executive fiat, the president does not have any constitutional power to give such directive. But I like looking at issues from a legal perspective beyond fanciful emotions and sentiments or affiliations. I like looking at issue with respect to the provisions of the Constitution. And for me, I think what we can do is we begin analyzing the contents of the peace accord, and we say, okay, which matches or correspond or meets the provisions of the Constitution. Because in the course of discussing that, we will now know this hula bulu that has arisen as a result of this document called the Peace Accord. Is it actually constitutional or unconstitutional?
Barrister Egbule, now we'll get to that. We have still 40 minutes thereabout.
Okay.
But you made mention of the Constitution,
yes,
and you said it's constitutional to have a Speaker of the House of Assembly.
Yes.
It is constitutional to submit the budget before the House of Assembly.
Yes.
But some people would say it is constitutional that once a person who is a lawmaker defects to another party without having a cogent reason, and in the case the cogent reason is documented in the Constitution, which says your party must be in some like we say in our local parlance, wahala, a big enough wahala that the party is close to disintegration or a merger. So if that is the case, you've talked about constitutionality. Do we have a constitutional crisis in River State?
We don't. what I think we have is a misrepresentation of constitutional provisions. A lot of time, people interpret the Constitution in isolation.
Okay.
We actually need to look at the Constitution in terms of context. And so, if there is a section of a Constitution, we need to ask ourselves, do we have subsections of this Constitution so that we can interpret them in context? And it's not automatic, let me say, because we need to correct some of this public opinion. It's not automatic that once a member of the House of Assembly defects to another political party, he loses his seat.
It's not automatic,
It is not automatic. The Constitution didn't say it's automatic.
Okay.
There's a section 1 of the Constitution, sub 1, which provides for circumstances in which a member of the House of Assembly will vacate his seat. Now, defection of a political party is one of it.
Okay.
But you see, section 109 has 3 subsections. And so we must read the complete subsections to actually know the intendments of a lawmaker.
Can you?
Yes,
I can see you have a constitution before you.
Yeah, I like referring to the constitution because a lot of people will tell you, "Oh, you are coming here to say your own opinion."
Okay, I have a constitution before me too.
Okay, so I'd like you to see section 109.
Okay,
I'll start from section 109. If you see section 109 sub 1, I will not bore you with reading the circumstances. But you have seen sub 1. You want me to read them?
Yeah, so for the sake of the listener who probably does not have.
Section 101 sub 1 says a member of the House of Assembly shall vacate his seat in the House if he becomes a member of another legislative house. Any other circumstance arise that if he were not a member of that house would cause him to be disqualified for election as such a member. He ceases to be a citizen of Nigeria. He becomes president, vice president, governor, deputy governor, or a minister of the government of the federation, or a commissioner of the government of a state, or a special advisor. Save as otherwise prescribed by this constitution, he becomes a member of a commission or other body established by this constitution or by any other law. Without just cause, he is absent from meetings of the House of Assembly for a period amounting in the aggregate to more than 1/3 of the total number of days during which the House meets in 1 year. Being a person whose election...
Sorry, we've got a commercial. I think we stopped at subsection F, is it?
F.
Yeah, so
Section,
when we come back, we continue. Let's go for a commercial break. 104. I am Kalada Kurubat.
Once again.
Before the commercial, we're looking at the section 109 and the
109.
subsections, and we stopped at F. He was reading and he's trying to explain, because he's arguing, just so you don't know what the conversation is about, we're trying to link the Supreme Court victory and the implementation of the Abuja Accord. Should it still be implemented? Should it not still be implemented? That's the argument on the street of River State, right? And he's saying it should be implemented, and it's saying because it's constitutional to implement them, and he's making his argument. So let's take a listen. So let's continue reading.
Okay, let's go back to F. F says, without just cause, he is absent from meetings of the House of Assembly for a period amounting in the aggregate to more than 1/3 of a total number of days during which the House meets in any 1 year. Being a member whose election to the House of Assembly was sponsored by a political party, he becomes a member of another political party before the expiration of a period for which that House was elected, provided that his membership of that later political party is not as a result of a division in the political party of which he was previously a member, or of a merger of two or more political parties or factions by one of which he was previously sponsored. Or the Speaker of the House of Assembly receives a certificate on the hand of a chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission stating that the provisions of Section 110 of this Constitution have been complied with respect of the recall of the member. Now that's Section 109. Now let's go to Section 109 sub 2. It says the Speaker of the House of Assembly shall give effect to subsection 1 of this section. So however that the Speaker or a member shall first present evidence satisfactory to the House that any of the provisions of that subsection has become applicable in respect of that member.
Okay.
So if you put this in context, you can't say Section 109 sub 1 is automatic, because it is only the Speaker that can give effect to Section 109 sub 1. And remember, when the law has prescribed a particular procedure, where the law has prescribed a method by which an act must be carried out, any other method, any other manner adopted is declared null and void. So
now in this case, that the Speaker is part of the people who cross-carpeted, and according to section 109 subsection before we get to 2, subsection G,
1G,
okay, thank you, which says that this is the only reason for which you can cross-carpet parties. Since the Speaker can be said to now be part of it, and subsection 2 says only the Speaker can declare, then is that not a constitutional crisis?
If we have a constitutional crisis, does it lie in the hand of any private individual to impute what's into the Constitution? If I adopt your argument as a basis,
I'm not a lawyer. Don't adopt questions.
It's not about you. It's even what's in the public. Some people will tell you, "Oh, but the Speaker defected."
Okay.
So, but that the Speaker defected, does it now mean that we need to override the provisions of the Constitution?
Interesting.
Does it now mean that we will now relegate the provisions of a Constitution with respect to Section 109 sub 2? And whenever this argument always come up, I always refer to people to Section 189 of the Constitution, which provides for when the governor of a state will vacate his seat as a result of permanent incapacity. That provision of a Constitution says that members of a state executive council are the ones that will declare the governor permanently incapacitated from discharging the functions of his office. Guess who are the members of the State Executive Council?
The commissioners.
The commissioners. Who appoints them? The governor. So, if we extrapolate the argument, we now get to a point where, because commissioners will not naturally want to declare their governor incapacitated, does it now mean that any other person can? No. Why? Because the express mention of one thing means the exclusion of the other. And that finds effect in a Latin modern expression you use, es exclusio alterius, that if the Constitution has expressly provided for one thing, every other thing is excluded.
So now, are you saying that the what is it called now? That the Constitution did not envisage the possibility of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker also defecting and not creating a situation for that?
I wouldn't want to look at it from that angle. I would like to look at it from the power, the person, the office, giving the power to declare a seat vacant. And I like to look at it from that angle.
And
the other angle will be political, but we have to stay on the Constitution. And you know, when we interpret the Constitution like this, we have to take a look at historical antecedent and historical perspective to this Constitution. This is not the first Constitution that Nigeria has. We had the 1979 Constitution. If we were obviously in 1979, one would have made a statement that the provisions of Section 109 sub 1 would have been automatic. You know why? Because it's in the 1979 Constitution, which is actually Section 103, that has the same provisions. It didn't have a subsection 2 that says the Speaker will declare the seat vacant. Now, you compare these two constitutions. 1979 didn't give that power to the Speaker. 1979 just have Section 109 sub 1 and 2. The subsection 2 in the 1979 Constitution is a subsection 3 in the 1999 Constitution. Now, there is no subsection 2 which says it's the Speaker that will give effect to provisions of subsection 1. But in 1999, we have a provision that says it is the Speaker. The question we should be asking ourselves, what is the intent of a legislature? Because when you take a look at the Constitution, the only thing you're looking at is what did the legislature intend? The legislature intended that it is only the Speaker that can give effect to Section 109 sub 1. So if the Speaker has not given effect to those provisions, no other person can.
Okay, it means that it gives room for politicking. If the Speaker does not like your face and you defect, then...
Okay, let me say something else.
Yeah.
Now, see what Section 109 sub 1F, see what it says. Without just cause, he is absent from meetings of the House of Assembly for a period amounting in the aggregate to more than 1/3 of the total number of days during which the House meets in 1 year. Someone will say, oh, if you don't attend sittings amounting to 1/3 that the House of Assembly has sat in a year, it means that you have automatically lost your seat. But see what subsection 3 says. A member of a House of Assembly shall not be deemed to be absent without just cause from a meeting of the House of Assembly unless the person presiding certifies in writing that he is satisfied that the absence of a member from the meeting was for a just cause. So when you interpret the Constitution, you just don't look at one section.
I agree, but my point is, it gives so much power to the Speaker or presiding officer, and that means that it's going to be political. If I don't like your face, if I look at Barrister Egbule and say, I mean, this guy did try me, I declare a seat vacant. But let's look at it from this angle. Now that you've explained your own interpretation, I'm going, because other lawyers have their interpretation. So
well, you can always refer them to subsection 2.
But permit me to say your own interpretation of the Constitution. Let's now go back to the Abuja Accord. One of the biggest issue right now is the resubmission or the submission. I don't know which is it now. The submission of the budget, and you have said the 8-point agenda or 8-point resolution is legal and constitutional. Are you saying it's okay to submit the budget again?
Let me correct an impression.
Okay.
I am saying that when you take a look at that piece of code, don't look at the document, look at the contents of the document. Because it is the contents of a document that would show whether they are constitutional or not. If there is a content of a document that says go and kill, obviously you would say, no, this particular content of this document is unconstitutional. But I've said, let's look at the content. One of the content is the one we have discussed, which is as it relates to the members that are affected. And I said it's not automatic. Now let's come to the budget. You know, Section 4.7 says that it is a duty of the House of Assembly to make laws for peace, order, and good governance of a state. That power to make law, Section 100 says it can only be done through bills. Now, you go to Section 121, which talks about the budget. It says that the governor of a state shall lay before the House of Assembly the financial estimates of the income and expenditure for that financial year. For that to happen, the House of Assembly would need to sit. Section 96 of the Constitution provides for quorum for the House of Assembly to sit, and it says for the House of Assembly to sit, it's 1/3. And so if you don't have a quorum, the House of Assembly cannot sit. Then you go back to section 92, which creates the office of a speaker and deputy speaker. Once a speaker and deputy speaker have been elected pursuant to section 92 sub 1 of the Constitution, they can only be removed by section 92 sub 2. And one of the conditions for which you remove the Speaker of the House of Assembly is if you have 2/3. So the question we should be asking ourselves now, has the Speaker, Right Honorable Martin Samihuli, been removed from office?
Okay.
Did it comply with the provisions of the Constitution? And my answer to that is no.
For the sake of time, because we've used 40 minutes now, so time is fast spent. We would have to open the lines so people can contribute. But I have 2 more questions, so we can run along now, yeah? First is, there was the court order. Like I said, your constituency is very much a part of the political drama in River State.
Legal drama, I would say.
Okay, and you don't like politics, you like legal, so legal drama. And there was a court order saying, based on the fact that Edison here brought before the court, that he should be speaker based on the fact that certain people are defected and left the party. So can the court, you've just said only the speaker, but can the court in this case decide, since the speaker is said to be amongst the defectors who may have breached the Constitution, may have, now underline that. The second question is, if the court had given the order and said Edison Ehieh is speaker for the time being, it's law, right? Because it's from a court. Making laws is not just the work of the assembly,
yes.
The judiciary, and also the executive can make laws. The governor can give an executive order, right? Now, he has followed the principle of a court giving an order and submitted the bill. You've just read the Constitution that he has to, right? What then is the Constitution going to say about these situations?
First of all, we need to ask ourselves one question.
Okay.
Is there a court order or a judgment of courts that declared Right Honorable Edison Ehieh as a Speaker of the River State House?
There was a court.
There is none. And I will explain to you.
Okay, tell me.
You see, when people talk about declarations, there is something we need to actually understand. Declarations are not orders, judgment of a court that you get during the pendency of a suit. For a court to declare a particular order, declaration, it means that there is a final determination of the rights and liabilities of parties. That's the only time the court will do that declaration. So if we have a dispute with respect to land, the court cannot declare that land belongs to either me or you during the pendency of the matter. It is only when the court has heard all the parties. And I can tell you that matter is still sub judice. So if how can you say that a matter that is sub judice and the court has made a declaration?
I said an order. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. There is no.
What do you guys call it? Interlocutory order.
There is no such interlocutory order. You know why? Because no court will want to give an interlocutory order declaring you as A when there is a contention as to whether you are A or B.
Egbule, there is the order from Danagogo's court. Justice Danagogo.
If you know what I usually do?
Yeah.
I usually look at the contents of documents.
Okay.
If you bring the content of that document, and I'll analyze it to you.
Okay.
Now, there is no court that can declare. You know why? Because even the courts know that who the Speaker of a House of Assembly is squarely rests on the provisions of Section 92.
Okay.
And it is only done through election. Once an election has been conducted where a Speaker and Deputy Speaker emerges, the only way you can remove them is as provided in Section 92 sub 2.
So let me ask you this question now.
Yes.
But before
you asked me 2 questions. I don't know.
No. Still, but before I go on to, let's read what the court said. It is hereby observed and ordered as follows: that the affidavit in support of motion ex parte shows that more than 2/3 or
Which order is this?
Like I said, we're going to Danagogo's court now.
Is it? Because
okay, no, this is not Danagogo's court.
Yes.
Sorry. I think I have. Let's see. I would have to look for it. I don't know if you have it because you've been following the situation.
You know the challenge. The challenge is, I like any document emanating from you.
I would have to look for it now.
Okay, no problem.
But let's go to the next one.
Yes.
But you see, you've said there was no order, so I meted the budget. So has he not followed the due process? Is that not contravening?
See what the Constitution says.
Let's hear you.
In Section 1. It says the Constitution is supreme, and its provision shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay.
See what it then says again. If any other law is inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution, this Constitution shall prevail, and that other law shall to the extent of its inconsistency be void.
Okay.
Even if 5 million Rivers people gather today and they said, well, let's do away with the House of Assembly. We now have a budget of our own. Your Excellency, please sign. And His Excellency signs. Do you know why that document can be addressed as a budget? Because it falls short of constitutional provisions.
But even the Constitution you're making reference to empowered the judiciary to be able to make laws, right? And in this case, the judiciary has not only made a law, it first interpreted what it believes the Constitution said.
Which section of the Constitution?
And I'm yet again, I'm not a lawyer,
yes.
But I'm trying to get the document. But what we know and what has been reported is that they went to Danagogo's court, Justice Danagogo's court.
Are you also aware that there was a
State.
time that the public was fed with information that, there's a court order restraining the House of Assembly from sitting?
That's Ayuba's court. Justice Ayuba had denied the request. But I'm saying, that the report that we have and still is still being carried by major national news platforms is that there was a state high court that gave what they call this interim injunction, is it? That lasts for 7 days. Correct me if I'm wrong. The one that lasts for 7 days. And in that order, or that whatever it's called now, because you confused me now, it declared him a speaker, and there was even a fine saying if you are misleading the court, you're going to pay XYZ amount of, based on the evidence that they brought before the court.
I have just said that for any document to be called the budget of a state, it must meet constitutional provisions. That budget must be passed by the Rivers State House of Assembly. So all the arguments that I have been making. Now let us make some deductions. Number one, have the seats of the lawmakers who defected been declared vacant? No. Are they
were declared vacant by Edison.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I have analyzed that issue, that the speaker that we have today, you may not like him, and you see that's why.
Not me.
I'm coming. I mean the public. Anybody may not like him.
Okay.
That's why when I face issues like this, I like looking at what the Constitution says. Now, are they members of the Rivers State House of Assembly? Yes, they are members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. If they are members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, how do you calculate to third of 32 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly? Sorry, 1/3 for you to even sit is 11. If you don't form quorum, how do you sit to pass a budget? I have just told you that the only way you can pass a budget is through the only way you can make laws.
Okay, so let's paint a picture. I've asked some other lawyers.
Okay.
So let's imagine, God forbid, because we like God forbid a lot in Nigeria. God forbid, 27 lawmakers die.
Okay.
Are you saying the Rivers State House of Assembly will be suspended?
Of course, no. I can't say that.
So if then there is the argument that 27 lawmakers defected and as such have lost their seats, can remaining 5 form a quorum?
The reason
you're
jumping the gun. You know why? Whatever answer I give now will contradict the provisions of the Constitution. You can't say if they defect. What you should say is if they defect and the rightful speaker declares a seat vacant.
So are you saying that even because you've been talking Constitution,
yes,
and you agree that the defection, from the way you sound, may have breached some aspects of the Constitution?
I didn't say so.
I say from the way you sound.
No, I have always been hinging on Section 109 sub 2.
No, that's vacating their seats.
Yes.
I'm talking about breaching. The defection itself breached some aspects of the Constitution. Now, the question then is, if it breached and only the Speaker can, then are they not also being unconstitutional?
When you take a look, when you say there is a process, for instance, what is an election? An election starts from primaries to campaign to declaration of a winner. This is a complete process that you can call an election. For you to call whatever has happened defection that breaches the Constitution, then you must also look at subsection 2.
All right.
Without looking at subsection 2, that process remains inchoate.
All
And
right.
if a process is inchoate, nobody, private citizen or anybody can impute into the Constitution words that are not in the Constitution.
Okay, so it's time to take contributions. I mean, I like the way you argue. I wish I was a lawyer. I would have been able to battle with you. But yeah, I've been talking with Barrister Egbule, and we're looking at the Supreme Court judgment, and he's saying that the 8-point resolution should be implemented. I hope
We should be looking at the content of the 8 points.
So we're saying the same. The content should be implemented.
The content insofar as it meets constitutional provisions.
Is there anyone that does not meet
I have
constitution?
not seen any.
So that means the document should be implemented.
As it relates to the 27 lawmakers, the budgets, and then the local government council election.
Okay.
Those are not, they don't even, what I'm saying is that you don't need that peace accord. They are mandatory. Remember when the governor swore to his oath of office? This is to abide by the provisions of the Constitution.
All right, the lines are blinking right now, so let's go to the phone. Before we go to the phone lines, let's look at Facebook. Remember, we're live, Nigerians for PH. We're live on YouTube as well, Nigerians for PH, and we're active on X, Nigerian for PH. Ogo Ojun Justice says, with all due respect, the lawyers misinterpreting and misleading the public. Is he ignorant of the court order? Is he aware about the defections of the lawmakers, and what did the Constitution say about that? I think that's the question I was trying to ask you not too long ago. Yes. And Wisdom Joseph says, good afternoon, Carl, and the Leonard Council, who's your guest. To me, I think the Abuja Accord per se is not unconstitutional. There is nothing wrong with the resubmission of the 2024 budget, and that is because at present, the Federal High Court has declared a nullity the presentation that was made last year. It only means that the first was unconstitutional and the second would be deemed constitutional. So we should not argue about the constitutionality of the would-be second presentation of the budget because the first was unconstitutional. Benjamin Wokuma says, good evening, please. I think the lawyer is economical with the Constitution. First thing first is the first is that any legislator that leaves the party that sponsored her to another party as seat becomes vacant automatically. Chile. Do you agree?
It's not automatic. What anybody who says it's automatic should tell us what we should do with subsection 2.
Okay, let's read subsection 2 again, please. Okay. So I'm going to go to my Constitution and I'm going to read it myself.
Yes,
this time.
I want you to read subsection 2.
Okay, I think
of section 109.
I moved away. Oh my goodness, I think I moved away.
You mind using mine?
No, mine is computer based. Okay, so I just would get it now. Just give me a minute. But remember, you can join the conversation 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003. Let's get your thoughts and let's talk for development of our dear state and of our dear nation. The lawyer has a different perspective from what we've been arguing on the show for a long time. He says no court can give an order that Edison should be speaker because the Constitution is clear on that. But I'm asking him, there is that court order. We read about it in the news. We saw the document online. But he's saying that order is not constitutional. But if a court gives that order, what should the president do? Whether constitutional or not, a court is giving an order. What else can the governor do? In
law, there's what we call academic question. Academic question is question that doesn't have any cause of action. Okay. You just stay and you formulate a question. So any answer I give now would obviously impinge on my argument. So I would not answer any question that is not factual.
Subsection 2, the Speaker of the House of Assembly shall give effect to subsection 1 of this section. So however, that the Speaker or a member shall first present evidence satisfactory to the House that any of the provisions of the subsection has become applicable in respect of the member. But my question still remains, what then happens if the Speaker is guilty of what subsection 1 does say? Let's go to the phone lines quickly, answer some few calls. Hello, your name, your location, your contribution.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, greetings to you. All right, quickly, make it brief, please.
Yeah, I recommend the speaker. Your guest, you read very well. You know the law. You have interpreted the law. You see, some people, most of the law, they are speaking on only general. But he has spoken on the exception of the law.
Okay.
So yeah, I appreciate him.
Okay.
I want that editing the declaration of Speaker. I want you to bring that specific place that the law, the court say today you are the House of Assembly of River State. You are the River State House of Assembly.
Okay.
That people are interpreting that the penal will go judgment.
Right.
The court does not specifically say anything you are now the Speaker of the House of Assembly.
All right then. All right.
That's what your speaker is saying.
All right. Thank you very much. Your name, your location, your contribution. Keep it brief, please.
Yes, Kamara, good evening.
Yeah, welcome. Your name.
The Clinton is calling you.
All right, Clinton, quickly, keep it brief.
Yeah, the problem we have in this country is the lawyers always try to interpret the Constitution to suit their own narrative.
Okay.
I am listening passively to your guests in the studio, and no matter the argument you bring, he's always trying to make his own argument superior. He doesn't agree with your own. His own is superior. But that's not the reason why I'm calling you. I have known Godspower Egbule for a long time now, and he's a very considerate young man. No? I like him. But the truth of the matter is that the Constitution of Nigeria is there for us to see, and we are seeing it. And he can also tell me that he knows better than the professor of law.
You never can tell. You never can tell.
The subsection 1G that is referring to now is explicit enough. It's clear.
Okay.
Now the speaker is part of those that defected.
I've got to go. I'm sorry.
We'll be right back after this.
Port Harcourt, are you ready?
I mean, tons of messages. I'm really, really sorry. I should learn how to use the time, but I had so many questions to ask my guest, and I'm going to throw one more question at him. What's your final say now?
No matter which of the divide, no matter the political affiliation that we belong to, we must insist that the provisions of the Constitution are obeyed and enforced. And I want people to take a look at the peace accord we shouldn't just look at it as a document. We should look at the content to see whether there are contents of that piece of code that infringes on the Constitution. And if
of commissioners, it's also a
it's at the
constitution.
absolute discretion of the morning, sack you in the afternoon, reappoint you in the evening. So if you check, I don't talk about politics. So that has to do with the absolute discretion of the governor.
You're interesting there. Thank you very much, Barrister Godspower, Egbule, legal practitioner here in River State and a public affairs analyst. For someone who does analysis of public affairs, doesn't like to talk about politics, I find that really interesting. But thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure always.
And thank you for you, or rather thank you, the listener listening right now. Thank you for your contributions. For those of you who I did not pick your call, once again I would ask you to bear with me, and let's reconvene during the open season and talk for development. But before the open season, I've got another conversation, and this time with a security expert, and we will go back to the time when there was some kind of explosion at a portion of the Den House of Assembly complex. To stay tuned.